It's Shed Time Stories with Issy. Are you ready to share a new story? Well, I have chosen a rather mysterious book to share. The title of the book is There's No Deer Around Here. If you have this book at home, you can read along with me. The author, the person who has written this story, is Hussey. And the illustrator, the person who has drawn all the pictures, is Rosie Venner. Now in this story, we're going to meet Jacob, a little boy who's staying with his granny. And they've planted some flowers and vegetables. But something has been nibbling them. What could it be? Jacob is curious. Shall we read and find out what happens? There's no deer around here. It was the weekend, and Jacob was staying with Granny, but they were stuck indoors. Earlier in the year, Granny had suggested they grow their own plants. Jacob loved the idea. He wanted to grow a pumpkin the size of his head and the biggest, brightest sunflower in the street. Finally, the sun came out from behind the clouds. Jacob rushed downstairs and out into the garden to check on their plants. He was happy to see that the sunflowers had grown. But what had happened to the vegetable patch? Everything had been eaten. Granny came outside to see what was wrong. She pointed to the gate, looking confused. Jacob, did you leave the gate open? How many times have I told you to shut the gate so Archie-Dog can't escape? Sorry, Granny, Jacob replied. Jacob picked up a lettuce leaf that had been left on the lawn. The leaf had been nibbled. What do you think came in last night? Jacob asked. A cow? Some sheep? Or maybe a deer? Granny was quick to reply. A deer? Oh, no, dear. There's no deer around here. Every Sunday, Jacob and Granny took Archie-Dog for a walk. Jacob would skip along the path and splash in the muddy puddles. Jacob and Archie-Dog were the best of friends. Looking down in the squelchy mud, Jacob could see his footprints and Archie-Dog's paw prints. But there were other prints too. What makes marks like this? Jacob wondered. A tiny lady with pointy shoes? Don't be silly, Granny replied, climbing over the stile in her old wellies. Tiny ladies would never walk in the mud in their best pointy shoes. Maybe a deer, wondered Jacob. Granny was quick to reply. A deer? Oh, no, dear. There's no deer around here. When they reached the path, they let Archie-Dog off the lead. He ran round and round, chasing his ball and barking with joy. Suddenly, Archie-Dog dropped his ball and set off across the field towards the fence. No matter how loudly Jacob and Granny shouted, he kept on running. Finally, Granny caught up with him and put his lead back on. But Archie-Dog kept on sniffing. What can he smell? A cat? A fox? Or maybe a deer? Asked Jacob. Granny was quick to reply. A deer? Oh no, dear. There's no deer around here. The park was normally full of activity, but today it was quiet. Instead of the usual games and children playing, there was only the noise of the birds, tweeting and chattering as they swooped to catch flies. Jacob looked up and spotted a blackbird on the fence. The bird flapped its wings and flew away, but Jacob noticed he'd left something behind. Jacob reached up and carefully picked a clump of fur off the fence. He looked at it closely. Who could be missing this? He wondered. Could it be a deer? He asked. Granny was quick to reply. A deer? Oh no, dear. There's no deer around here. Suddenly, Archie-Dog stuck his head into the bushes and wouldn't come out. Archie, no! Shouted Granny. It was clear he was eating something he shouldn't. Granny pulled him out of the bushes, and Jacob expected to see him chewing a mouldy old sandwich or an apple. After all, they were Archie-Dog's favourites. Jacob saw what looked like melted chocolate raisins. Granny insisted that he mustn't try and eat one. Is it poo, Granny? Jacob asked. Some kind of sticky rabbit poo? Or is it a deer? Has it been to the loo? He chuckled. Granny was quick to reply, a deer! Oh no, dear! There's no deer around here. On the edge of the wood, there was Jacob's tree. He had planted it with his school friends as part of a nature project. Jacob loved seeing how much his tree had grown. It was still taller than him, but he was catching up fast. But the tree looked sad. The bark on one side had been damaged and the ground had been churned up. What could have done this? Could it be a deer? Jacob asked. Granny was weary and quick to reply, a deer! Oh no, dear, there's no deer around here. That evening, back at the house, Jacob emptied his pocket and studied the fur closely under his bedside light. He couldn't stop thinking about the clues he'd seen that day. The leaf, the prints, the sniffing, the fur, the poo, the tree. Could there really be deer so close to here? Before turning off his light, Jacob jumped out of bed and peeked out the window for one last look at the garden. "Oh no!" he gasped. "The gate's open again!" Before he had time to tell Granny, a pair of ears appeared over the fence, casting a strange shadow in the moonlight. What could it be? "I knew it! I knew it! A deer! A deer! So there are deer around here." The mummy deer and her baby strolled in through the open gate and began to nibble on the few remaining leaves. Jacob smiled with delight, and with a lettuce leaf in her mouth, Jacob could have sworn the deer smiled back. Jacob couldn't believe his luck. Leaving the deer to enjoy their snack, he climbed back into bed and fell fast asleep. Oh, what a fantastic story that was! I love the way Jacob and Archie-Dog were curious to find out what had nibbled all the plants. They went to explore. They found clues and they gathered evidence. And in the end, Jacob found out it was a deer. I wonder, have you been outside on a walk and found some strange things and wondered what they were? Maybe next time, have a look around. Our beautiful world is full of nature, some wonderful, glorious things to find. I hope you've enjoyed today's Shed Time story. And if you want to, you can like, share, follow and subscribe to Shed Time Stories. And then you will be ready for the next book for us to share together. Bye-bye.